Sexual Identity 101, How to Talk About Sexual Identity. Working to understand sexual identity, not only of individuals, but as a whole, can be incredibly complex and confusing. How are you supposed to differentiate between words like gay, straight, bisexual, asexual, demisexual, SGL, queer? The list goes on. So let's take a step back. In this video, we're going to break it down into 3 parts. First, let's talk about why we don't acknowledge all of these different identities. Then next, looking a little bit into why society views sexuality on a binary scale. And then lastly, we're going to apply the concepts that we've learned. So first, let's talk about why we don't acknowledge all of these various identities.
In society, we see straight, gay, and lesbian. But how many of you have heard of queer or demisexual? Odds are not too many of you. Why is it that we don't see these identities?
In society, we tend to approach sexual identity on a binary scale. We see people as either gay, straight, or somewhere in between. But sexual identity can't be defined on a linear scale. With each identity, there comes an entirely different culture, experience, politics, sometimes even language. So we shouldn't be thinking of sexuality on this linear scale, but perhaps an image like this is a little bit more representative. So now let's dig a little deeper and really start to figure out why society views sexual identity as a binary. In mainstream society, only gay and lesbian identities are truly visible, and this can be seen when looking at things like media and social political reforms. So let's think about sexual identity in the media. There's been a recent trend in television of featuring non-heterosexual characters. TV shows like Modern Family, American Dad, and Empire are popular shows that exhibit this. But these shows, and most others that feature non-heterosexual characters, only show characters that identify as either gay or lesbian. Now let's think about it in terms of social policy. Recently, the Supreme Court ruled same-sex marriage legal across the entire United States. This victory has been applied to the entire LGBT community. But is it really? Marriage as an institution was created for traditional couples. This idea of traditional partner roles grants privilege and visibility to relationships that assimilate into this heterosexual norm. But unfortunately, this leaves out members of the LGBT community who don't fit into this mold. Now that we've looked more deeply into sexual identity, let's see if we can apply the concepts that we've talked about. Alright, so let's run through our first example. Here you have a girl and a boy. How would you classify these people's sexual identity? Alright, and now example number 2. What do you think about these people's sexual identity? Here, our third and final example. Can you characterize this individual's sexual identity? Now hold up. We don't know any of these individuals, so how could we tell how they identify? Someone could just as easily be bisexual and simply dating that individual at that time. It's really hard to tell when you haven't had a conversation with someone how they should be identified or how they would like to be identified. How should you define a person's sexual identity? Well, that's not up to you. When in doubt, just ask, and no matter what the answer, you've taken a step in the right direction to begin to acknowledge the spectrum of sexuality. Thank you for watching our video on sexual identity. We want to note that this is a very simple introduction to a complex topic. So keep in mind that it's not the job of the individual to teach you about their identity. So you have to be respectful no matter what answer you get. And if you're looking for any more information or want to do a little bit of self-research or simply want someone to talk to, please direct yourself to the resources listed below.